Okay. Hello, this is Richard Lowe, the writing king and ghostwriting guru, and I'm here in the Leaders and Their Stories podcast. I'm with Terry L. Fossum, who was the executive officer for an entire group of nuclear B-52 bombers during the Cold War and Gulf War I. In business, he built sales teams around the world and became part of the top fraction of 1% in the world. In the philanthropic world, he earned numerous local and national awards. He's the #1 best-selling author in Wall Street Journal, gave the #2 TED Talk in the world, wow, is Los Angeles Magazine's Person of the Year for 2024, and Inside Success Magazine's the most impactful and visionary personality to look for in 2025. He heads up the world-class speakers, helping people take their books or ideas to stages around the world, whether it's TED Talks or paid speaking gigs. Terry, that's quite impressive.
I just can't. I can't stay sitting down long. That's all, Richard. I got to keep on moving. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Fantastic, man. We're having a lot of fun. We're building a lot of cool stuff and kind of helping some people in the process. Hopefully.
Yeah. We met in the Alliances group, if my memory is correct.
Yep.
And I've been impressed by what you've had to say and how you help people. It's a great group of people. I'm enjoying hanging out with a lot of people, doing this talk with a lot of them. It's just a wonderful way to get to know people. So highly recommended that people look it up. But that being aside, you were telling me you have several points of leadership. So I'd like to hear about those.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking about what do we want to chat about today? With leadership, there's a lot of different directions we can go. Pat Sitkins, he's an author, really great businessman, great guy, is coming out with a book this year. Just got a publisher and everything that I thought was a brilliant idea. It's called "There Are Two Types of People," and that's it. And then he reached out to several of us and said, would you write a chapter? And all he gave us was the title, like, sure, that's a fun opportunity. So mine was, there are two types of leaders: those who develop followers, which we think leadership is, or those who develop leaders. And in that, I've got for a book that I'm writing very, very slowly, and then another keynote, I developed my 10 points of how you develop leaders. And I thought that might be, for the short time we've got here today, it might be really helpful for your audience to listen to 5 of the first points, because there are 5 things that seem intuitively obvious, and yet they are screwed up so often. So would that be a good thing to talk about today? Would that be fun?
I am anxious to hear about these. These sound like things that I could use in my own business. I'm sure our listeners could use them as well.
Well, good, because that's what I was really hoping to talk about today. Let's do it. Okay, again, it's all about developing leaders. And all too often we think of the leader, he's the one up on the top of the hill, or she, mind you, up on top of the hill. Dum, dum, dum. It's all about them. They are the leader. They are our leader. Yes, I am your leader. That is not a leader. That is a figurehead at best. That is a boss. That is a taskmaster. That is not a leader. A true leader develops other leaders. And if you really want to build anything significant, that's exactly what you do. If you want to be a great parent, that's what you do. You try to build leaders. If you want to be the head of any organization, any philanthropic organization, any business, anything, if you want what's really best for the organization and the people involved, you need to build leaders. It ain't about you. It's not about your ego. It's about them, and it's about the organization. So let's talk about them. And I know we've got about 15 minutes. So I'll watch the clock here out of respect for everybody's time. The first one, number 1 on the creating leaders list: put the focus where it belongs. And what do I mean by that? It's not about you as the leader. Get this, and this is going to hurt some feelings, and I'm okay with that. It's not about KPIs. It's not about mission statements. Nobody gives a rat's patootie about your mission statement, your vision statement, all that crap, except for the people that wrote them. I guarantee you, the people who are the workers, they're making it happen, they don't care. You know what I'm talking about, Richard?
I do. Yeah.
I saw you reacting to that. Go for it.
Some companies that I used to be with, we spent ages on those mission statements, going back and forth. Nobody cared. Nobody gave a rat's ass about the mission statement, other than we were told to do it. And
yeah,
we did it.
All these pillars and KPIs, and we're going to do charts and graphs. Nobody gives a rip. Okay. Here's the deal. People don't care about that. Believe it or not, they'll only work so hard for a paycheck. When somebody gets hired, the first thing is, well, how much does it pay? It actually doesn't mean that much to them. But listen, this is important. They will die for a cause. They'll only work so much for a paycheck, but they will die for a cause. I'm prior military, had some buddies do it. I tried to do it myself a couple of times. Happily, it didn't work out so well for the enemy, but people will die for a cause. So what your job is as the leader is to equate their job, their profession, your business to a cause.
Mm-hmm.
I was keynoting at this conference, one business leaders conference, and I asked the people there beforehand, what does your company do? And it was fascinating the answers I would get. Well, we make aircraft parts, we make shoes, we do groceries, we have the biggest conglomerate of blah blah blah. Nobody cares, okay? Richard, Patagonia's mission statement that people do care about, we're in business to save our home planet. It's not we make really cool outdoor gear or anything like we are. Do you think that their people can get on board with that?
I think so. I think
Yeah.
so. I think they would enjoy that.
Harley Davidson, more than building machines, we stand for the timeless pursuit of adventure. And their key phrase, freedom for the soul. Now, that's something people get on board with, right?
Well, I'm a ghostwriter, and what I do is I say, I write a book that's from your heart and your passion. I don't write just a normal book. I'm not one of those by the numbers books. It's not going to be all techie. It's going to be from your heart. And that's what I do. And it's the same kind of thing.
Absolutely. And if a boss can understand that building that passion inside of somebody, a leader can understand building that passion inside of somebody. If you light a fire under somebody, they're going to stomp it out the second you walk away. But if you build a fire inside of them, it'll burn forever. In scouting, I was I'm a big Boy Scout, or now they call it Scouting America. Been all my life. I've been a leader, president of the board of directors for our area. And what I did is I took all these KPIs and mission statements and pillars and all that, and I threw them away. I said, we got one job. We turn boys and girls into honorable men and women. That's all we do. That's what we do, period. That's our bottom line. And when I went out there to fire people up, I said, kids need scouting, and our community needs leaders. That's all you need to know. And son of a gun, we grew. Funny how that works, isn't it?
It is. All right. Well, that's number one. What's number two?
Number two on your creating leaders dial. Believe in others so they can believe in themselves. It is amazing to me how many theoretical leaders smash people down. You're not doing this right. You're so stupid. You're terrible. You can't do this. I don't even know why I'm paying you. But it happens all the time, doesn't it, Richard?
Happened to me all the time.
All the flipping.
Merely an employee.
And so therefore you performed like merely an employee, didn't you?
Well, after that, I certainly did.
Bingo. I have been absolutely amazed at looking somebody in the eyes. And it might be somebody I just met for the first time ever that's part of one of my companies or something like that. I look in the eyes and go, you know what? I just want to make sure you understand something. I believe in you. I believe in you. Suddenly their world changes because somebody believes in them. I was on a survival show, actually representing all the Boy Scouts of America. And it was 10 survival experts teamed up against each other while dragging along a complete novice. Somebody never even camped out in their backyard before.
Right.
And mine was a online video gamer. We'll just leave it at that. Great gal, sharp gal, strong gal, but novice. And what I did is I just looked for reasons to praise. That's a big one, guys. Write it down. Look for reasons to praise. Anytime she did anything right, I jumped on it. There's a lot of fears out there for a non-survivalist when you're in the flipping jungle and things are not so nice. So I'm really impressed with how you're overcoming your fears. It's really amazing to me. She overcame more of her fears. I love how hard you work. I think you're one of the hardest working partners out here. She worked harder. I said, we don't have any novices in camp anymore. We're all survivalists now. On international TV, you see her expression change. You see her change. Believe in other people so they can believe in themselves. That's number two. Anything to add on to that, Richard?
Yeah, I think that, that's one reason why I like Alliances and another group called Metal so much is they're very supportive and they believe in their members. Like I was out last Tuesday. I was there for a little while and I had to leave. A friend of mine passed away over the weekend. And David, the leader of Alliances, sent me an email saying, "What's up? I didn't see you. I was worried about you." So I told him, nobody does that. I was like shocked. And of course, it was good. He believed in me enough to email me and say, "Hey, how can I help?"
Yeah.
That was interesting. Don't get that very often.
That leads us right into the next one, which the tenet is give credit where credit's due, but it also goes into we all crave recognition. Whether you believe it or not, but he just recognized you. He didn't say, you're great. Here, you're the employee of the month. Any kind of that certificate suitable for, no. He showed you that you matter. And that mattered to you, didn't it?
That I exist even.
That you exist even.
I'm not just the membership fee. I'm a person. That was enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Give credit where credit's due. We all crave recognition. So I'm in the military, and I was the I was the executive officer for an entire group of nuclear B-52 bombers during the Cold War at this period of time. And I had been the adjutant for this squadron, 325th Bombardment Squadron. Somebody took over from me when I moved up into the headquarters building. And I heard from one of the guys who used to work for me, man, Terry, this guy's taking all the credit for what we're doing. And of course, they're all feeling like crap. Now, my boss, the colonel, let's just say he was a really tough man. He's a really tough man. So I told my sergeant, you know the type?
I do.
Yeah, he's kind of a screamer. People were afraid of him. Now, so I told my sergeant, who had called me up and said, "Man, this guy's really taking all the credit. I said, tell you what, I got this. Come up to the office 4 o'clock today, 1600." So he gets in there, and then I call up the lieutenant that took my place. I said, "All right, Lieutenant, Colonel C is pissed. He is pissed. You need to get up here right now. Right now? I mean, what's he pissed about? You get up here right now." And he comes up there. Okay, he's waiting for you in his office. So the lieutenant knocks on the door. "Come in," marches straight ahead, cuts a left corner toward the desk, stops right in front of the desk, salutes smartly. "Sir, Lieutenant X, reporting's ordered, sir." And he just hears laughing from behind the desk. And he looks down, and it's the sergeant. It's the sergeant that he was taking credit from. And I walked in and said, "Lieutenant, never take credit for anybody else's work again." That lieutenant's a full bird colonel now, and he still tells that exact same story.
That's
never take credit. Give credit where it's due.
Yep. Yeah, I had a boss who was I started in a company. It was a startup, and I said, "I'm putting in all these hours, And he said, "Well, keep putting in the hours and support us, and we're growing now. And when we finally, if you bring in some big business, you'll get stock and you'll get promoted and all that kind of stuff." Well, I brought in our first $100,000 client. I mean, we were. And I went to my boss and said, "Well, a year ago you promised this." And my boss said, "No, you get a salary. You're not going to get any." Do you think I worked 80 hours a week after that?
Wow.
Basically taking credit for everything. And he was getting the stock options. He was getting all this. It was implied that he was taking credit. He never got anything extra from me after that again, unless it was an emergency or something. I mean, I was done. That was the end of that. And he never even knew, because I wasn't going to tell him.
No, you didn't have the respect for him to tell him.
Totally lost respect. Keeping your word is vital.
Yeah. And give credit where it's due, or you tear people down. It's all about building people up. Number 4, if you delegate responsibility, delegate authority.
Yes, please. Yes.
Rings true, does it?
Oh, I had a boss who we had to go to him to get a $5 book approved, purchasing a book. I mean, he had to approve everything. And it was just infuriating, because I was at a level where I was at a level where I should have had the authority. I was a VP.
Yeah. Wow.
Having to go to my boss to say, "Can I buy this book?"
What? Yeah. But it's hard to stick to sometimes as a boss, because you need to understand that means they're going to make decisions that are different than yours. But you gave them the responsibility. You have to give them the authority. They might screw up sometimes. That's okay. That's part of their development as a leader. You've got to let them do it. It's too easy as the boss to take that back. "Oh, no. But I mean, you need to do it like that." Nope. You just show that you're not a person of your word, and you tore them down instead of building them up. You're developing followers. You've got to develop leaders.
Let them fail. You have to let them fail. That's the same thing with kids. When you have kids, you have today's mindset of having participation awards. It just drives me batty. It's like, "Oh, you were there. Yeah, big deal. Did you actually do the work? Did you run the race, or do the wrestling match, or do the baseball, or whatever it is, the science experiments?"
Right.
If you didn't do those, why are you getting an award?
Yeah.
Participation awards are the most ridiculous thing. Well, not the most ridiculous thing, but they're there, high up in the list.
And that's funny, because you say that, because that leads us into the final one. Push them out of the nest. And adults are nothing but old children. Yeah.
Yes.
Adults, we all are. We all whine. We all cry. We all want to get our way. We are nothing but old children, and especially men when we are sick. Let's face it, it's true. Sorry if you get emails about that, just forward them on to, no, don't forward them on to me. I don't want to hear them.
They go straight to the spam bucket.
Yeah, there you go. But here's the deal, folks. You've got to push them out of the nest. People will want to follow you. They're going to want to ask you what they should do. What I do is I don't answer them. I answer them with a question. "Well, what do you think you ought to do here?" I want them to at least come up with some potential solutions. And I'm going to keep asking questions. So here's one of the big tenets of leadership, is ask questions of them. "Well, I was wondering about this. Then how would that work out?" "Well, this would happen. And then what?" And so keep asking them the questions so they learn they can come up with the solutions. And often what I'll do is if they keep doing that, man, I can't wait to find out what you do about that. That's going to be awesome. And that's like, wait, what? Yeah, I can't wait to find out what you decide to do here. That's going to be fantastic. And they understand then they have to fly. Now, I'm going to support them. I'm going to be there for them. And like you said, Richard, when they screw up, I'm still going to be there for them. You know what? Yeah, that didn't work, but fantastic. Now you know. What are you going to do next? What's your next try?
Obviously,
Push them out of the nest.
it depends on the order of magnitude of the screw up. I mean, there are times, or the competence of the person involved. There are times when you have to come down on them. For most mistakes and most failures, they don't reach that order of magnitude at all. Yeah. So you have to use your leadership brains, I think.
Yeah, and the only time I'm going to come down on them is if they keep making the same mistake or if they don't try.
Right.
And to begin with, I'll do Velvet Hammer, but if they keep making the same mistake and they're not learning, yeah, we're going to have a discussion at that point. It's still going to be a discussion about why didn't you, what's going on, okay? You need to cut that out, and then that's a whole different podcast for a different time.
Of course.
But yeah, give them the opportunity to go out and screw up, which is another one of the tenets, actually. But I think we're about out of time.
Oh, we can go a little bit further, if you don't mind.
Sure.
When I was my first job, I worked for a World War II hardcore Nazi German U-boat commander.
Oh my gosh.
He was brought in by Operation Paperclip, which was they brought in a whole bunch of Germans, like 80,000 of them, to resell them in the United States. And he became the owner of the liquor store. And I stayed there for 2 years. And I stayed there. Everybody else was less than a month. And I asked my boss just before he closed the store, why was I here so long? And he said, because you're competent. And that was a big lesson. Being competent trumps everything. Now, what is competence? And first of all, incompetence is not necessarily an insult. We're all incompetent things. If I'm going to go do brain surgery, I'm going to be incompetent as hell about it. I'm not going to do a good brain surgery. I'm an incompetent brain surgeon. Don't give me a knife and expect me to carve open your head. Give me an assembly language program, because I'm an assembly language programmer. I can code that like no tomorrow. Give me something to write. I can write like no tomorrow. I'm competent at what I'm competent at. So when I hire somebody to do something, I expect them to be competent at their job. Now, if they're incompetent at their job, I'm going to talk to them and figure out why. Do they need more schooling? Was it over their head? Did they not get enough support from me? Do they not have enough budget? What was the underlying problem? And let's fix that. It's not attacking, saying, oh my God, you're an incompetent idiot, which might be true.
I don't know if that's exactly true, but yeah.
I mean, it could be. I've had employees where it's like, how did this person even crawl out of a kindergarten? But then they shouldn't have gotten past the interview stage. I mean, that was on me. But competence is a big deal. And I learned that from that U-boat commander, Jerry Gentgen. That was his name. It was a long time ago. Wow. I was only 17, managing a liquor store.
Yeah.
And scary stuff. But I wanted a new car and I wanted to get out of home, and I had to work for it. Nobody's giving me a silver spoon.
Sure.
There's a guy named Larry Wingett. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's a coach.
Not sure.
From back in the 90s and 2000s. He wrote a book called People Are Idiots and I Can Prove It.
Okay.
Great title. And the book has that tone through it. He says right in the beginning, if you don't like being spoken to, in this way, you don't read this book. And one of the things he says, which is why I like alliances so much, and my other group, Metal, is the two groups I'm in, is if you want to succeed, hang out with people who are higher up the ladder than you, who are better than you, because they'll pull you up.
Zero question.
Don't hang out with people who are the same or less than you on whatever judgment you're using. So if you want to quit smoking, don't hang out with smokers.
Right.
To put it real simply, because they're going to drag you right back in. If you're trying to quit drinking, don't go to the bars. And if you're trying to get rich, don't hang out with poor people. Hang out with rich people. Guess what? They're going to try and make you rich. They're going to say, okay, well, how do we do this? And you can talk to them. And so you're going to become rich. Those are some tenets. He's a great speaker. I don't even know if he's still alive. It's been many years, but he wrote some great books. Grow Up Hair is another one. He's got these great titles and they really piss you off when you read them. But it's looking at things, taking off the rose-colored glasses and looking at things. And I think it fits into your 5 tenets very well, is as a leader or anybody else, you should search for and be competent. And you should strive to be better than you are. And one way to be better than you are is to put yourself in groups that are better than you.
Well, I think that goes for ethics as well. If you want to be an ethical person, don't hang out with unethical people.
Well, you're no fun.
I've been told that before, and I am okay with that.
Me too.
Because I've never been told that I'm unethical.
Yeah. That would be a shocker to me if I wouldn't believe it. I mean, it's like, what? I'm
Yeah.
probably one of the more ethical people that you'd ever run into.
Hmm.
And that's because if you're ethical, you don't have to look over your shoulder.
Right. And
People,
people will only follow you as from the leadership standpoint if they feel they can trust you. Because if you'll screw somebody else, you'll screw them. Way it
yep.
is, man.
Yep. So I wanted to ask you one more question, looking
Sure.
over your introduction. So you were the executive officer for an entire group of B-52 bombers. What do you
Mhm.
think of the refit they're doing now? I mean, I would imagine this bomber's over almost a century old.
Well, and even when I was in there, the bird itself was older than many of the crew dogs.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
but it's important to understand that, yeah, the airframe itself, but it's been retooled so much.
Oh
It's
yeah.
different engines, different electronics, different everything. What I love is that there are now all female crew dogs, I mean, crews, B-52 crews. And again, you can send me emails if you want on that, and I just don't care. I will stick by that. And then I've got all sorts of jokes I could say, but the bottom line is it's fantastic. It's
Yeah, of
absolutely
course.
fantastic what's going on. Women were switching completely. Women have been in combat for more years than the United States have been alive. So I'm okay with that. And again, somebody cannot be if they don't want to be, but I'm excited about it. And yeah, it's a great airframe. There's no doubt. Beautiful thing about 8 engines on 4 pods, so it's 2 engines per pod is, and of course, I stay away from classified information.
Of
it,
course.
it can take a lick and keep on ticking, man. Because most of the missiles are going to be heat seekers, so they're going to hit one of those pods. The pod is away from the wing a bit, so it can be taken out and still have a chance of coming on home or completing the mission.
I think you could take out 6 of the 8 engines and it still could fly home in many cases.
Yeah, I'm not moving on, and I
Just
can't really speak to that with the new engines or anything like that. Anyway, we
okay.
don't.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful airframe. I love it. Of course, obviously, it's more of a standoff weapon than a like the stealth bombers that go in there in the thick of things because it's a little compared to modern bombers, it's a little slow, and you can see it like, hey, there it is. But
Well, and it's kind of funny that you say that because again, I've been on bombing runs with fighters simulated. Again, this is during war exercises in this case, coming after us, and it is amazing what those crew dogs can do with that airframe. But it is a long range bomber, and again, I'm just trying to make sure I'm not saying anything. And mission's different than when I was in. We had gunners in the buffs, big ugly fat flyers when I was in, but they took those out during my period of time there. Because of that, it's going to be more of a standoff airframe. But when you can drop a whole lot of 500 pounders from way, way up in the sky, or you can launch Alcoms air launch cruise missiles from a long distance away, yeah, you don't have to get that close. And the other birds can go in and play that. But it's also warfare is changing significantly even as we speak. It's a whole different way of waging war than it was back when I was in.
yep. Well, I bet you they wish that they hadn't carved the wings off of 500 airframes back in the SALT days. SALT 1 and SALT 2 were being negotiated. I mean, I look at those things, they have aerial photos of them. It's
Yeah,
like,
boneyard.
what were they? Well, I know what they were thinking. They were thinking the Cold War's over, blah, 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 blah. I know that they're wishing now, God, I wish we hadn't done that.
So I'll tell you a quick story, and it doesn't have that much to do with leadership for all the listeners. I'll tell you that right now, but it's a fun, interesting story. At least to me, it is because I'm old and I tell stories. So we're at the last ever Strategic Air Command bombing competition, the last one ever. And so I was there at the end of SAC, and we come into the tarmac and we're taxiing up, and we look over next to us to our taxi spot, and there is a Russian Bear bomber. This is our nemesis. This is the airframe that we have studied. Again, that is our entire nemesis in the world, and we're parking next to the flippin' airplane. We're all, I mean, our jaws were on the floor. We had no idea this was happening. And when we had the banquet for the last ever red flag exercise for Strategic Air Command, we had our new comrades there that we are all toasting a new friendship to. And I'll just say that not everybody was on board with that. There we go. That's just an old war story.
And admire how things have changed in just a few years because it's definitely not that way now.
Yeah. We probably could have seen that one coming. Boy, this is a story I've never told on a podcast before. A few things I've never said on a podcast before. See how you are, Richard?
I like to have a few stories at the end, in addition to all of the information, because I'm a ghostwriter. I'm a storyteller.
There you go.
Works out really well. All right. Well, any final words for our listeners?
Yeah, you are leading. You are absolutely leading every single day, every single action, every single word, every single subtle nuance. You are leading. The question is, are you leading to the good or are you leading to the bad? Because everything you're doing in front of anybody at all, you are leading them. They are picking up on your cues. They are watching you. So it comes as both encouragement, whether you think you're a leader or not, you're influencing people. Therefore, you are a leader, but also words of warning in that be careful, because everything you say makes an impact. Everything you do makes an impact. Everybody that you're anywhere near, you are impacting them. Take your perhaps new role, but take your role as a leader seriously, not just in business, not just in philanthropy, not just what you might think it'd be, but with your children, with your family, with every single moment of your lives. That's what I got for you, Richard.
Well, thank you. It's been nice having you on. Wonderful, wonderful podcast. Enjoyed it thoroughly. This has been the Leaders and Their Stories podcast. I'm Richard Lowe, the writing king and ghostwriting guru. I thank you all for listening. And this is pretty much daily. So come back tomorrow for the next one. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Richard.